I am Ptolemy, companion, general, and later chronicler of the great history. More than 3 centuries before Christ, the ancient world was still an unfinished picture, full of mystery and ambition. But then, from a small kingdom in the north, a man arose. A fire of ambition burned,
What will become of
reshaping
Macedon?
the whole
Alexander
picture.
is too young,
That
too reckless.
was
The tribes
Alexander,
will rebel.
the son of
Our
Philip
enemies will
II
seize
of
this
Macedon.
chance.
I
A
saw it
great
all.
king, but a
His early
shadow
campaigns,
too
the
large
making
for a
of a
boy
legend.
to overcome.
A genius, yes,
From a young
but also
age,
ruthless.
Alexander was trained by the best teachers, including Aristotle, who instilled in him a thirst for knowledge, but also an ambition to rule. And then fate called his name sooner than expected. At the age of 20, Alexander ascended the throne after the questionable death of his father. Alexander understood that he had to act quickly and decisively to protect the rear, consolidate the young kingship before embarking on a major foreign campaign. Any delay could have been disastrous. It was the spring of 335 BC, a year of bloodshed and trial. I, then a young man, had accompanied Alexander on his first campaign, witnessing the talent and brutality of my friend and great leader. The first campaign took us to Thrace, where rebel tribes had turned the mountains into natural fortresses, determined to stop Alexander. Every step had to be cautious, knowing that danger could lurk anywhere. His strategic goal was clear: to quell any rebellion on the northern frontier, Thrace and Illyria, and reassert Macedonian hegemony over the Greek city-states. No enemy was allowed to stand behind him as he headed east. At Mount Haemus, he faced a Thracian force that had erected barricades of chariots on the hilltops, intended to roll them down to break the Macedonian phalanx. A simple but vicious tactic, using the natural terrain as a formidable weapon. As soon as the threat from the chariots was dispelled, our archers began to rain arrows on the bewildered enemy, who had been dismayed by Alexander's surprise tactics. The infantry easily routed the Thracians, forcing them to flee and abandon their positions. On the other bank, the 14,000-strong Getae tribe slept, completely unaware of the Macedonian army that was secretly approaching, hidden in the darkness. He personally led an elite force of 4,000 infantry and 1,500 cavalry across the Danube, daring at night on rafts. They moved silently under the cover of darkness, not letting a sound escape, creating an element of absolute surprise. The sudden appearance of our army from across the river terrified the Getae tribe of 14,000 men, and they fled immediately after the first engagement, completely disintegrating before Alexander's power and surprise. After stabilizing Thrace and pacifying the Getae, another urgent news arrived. The Illyrian revolt, led by King Clitus and Glaucius of the Taulanti, flared up strongly in the west, directly threatening the northwestern border of Macedonia. At the same time, a rumor that he was dead spread to Greece, igniting a major uprising in Thebes, which was secretly supported by Athens and other city-states.
It's a massive uprising.
Alexander understood the danger of an unstable rear.
No hesitation.
He pounded the table and gave the order to march. Alexander quickly marched to the fortress of Pelium, a strategically important position. This rapid march also helped him deal with Thebes, covering more than 300 miles in less than 2 weeks to reach Thebes. The Siege of Pelium was a shock to all of Greece. At Pelium, this natural fortress was defended by King Clitus and Glaucius. We arrived and immediately set up a siege, sending scouts to investigate every corner.
To the left flank.
Soon we were surrounded again. The forces of Glaucius from the surrounding hills and King Clitus from the fortress of Pelium joined forces, raining arrows and charging down from all sides. The situation seemed hopeless. The Siege of Pelium was where Alexander tested and perfected many of the mountain warfare tactics that would later prove useful in Asia. It proved that no terrain could stop his will. While Alexander was busy in the north, false rumors of his death spread like wildfire to Greece. In Thebes, a flame of false hope was ignited. At the same time, cavalry and light infantry units managed to scale the walls from weak points, open the gates from inside, allowing the rest of the army to pour in. A perfectly coordinated tactic had been calculated by Alexander.
Alexander quickly marched to the fortress of Pelium, a strategic location. This rapid march also helped him deal with Thebes, covering over 300 miles in less than 2 weeks to reach Thebes, surprising all of Greece. At Pelium, this natural fortress was defended by King Clitus and Glaucius. We arrived and immediately set up a siege, sending scouts to investigate every corner. Soon we were surrounded again. The forces of Glaucius from the surrounding hills and King Clitus from the fortress of Pelium joined forces, pouring down arrows and charging from all sides. The situation seemed hopeless. The Siege of Pelium was where Alexander tested and perfected many of the mountain warfare tactics that would later prove useful in Asia. It proved that no terrain could stop his will. While Alexander was busy in the north, false rumors of his death spread like wildfire to Greece. In Thebes, a false hope was ignited. At the same time, cavalry and light infantry units managed to scale the walls from weak points, opening the gates from the inside, allowing the rest of the army to pour in. It was a perfectly coordinated tactic, calculated by Alexander. As the gates collapsed, Alexander personally led the army into the city. Thebes, the symbol of resistance, would now suffer the wrath of the despised, with no chance for mercy. The Thebans, in desperation, tried to stop the enemy's flood. They fought bravely, but the long Macedonian sarissa spears became a nightmare, disabling their weapons and formations. Every Theban soldier knew this was the last battle. The brutality of Thebes sent a strong message to the rest of Greece. The other city-states quickly bowed, not daring to confront Alexander's iron will. His warning had sunk deep into their bones. At Corinth, Alexander was reconfirmed as the hegemon of the Greek forces in the coming war against Persia.
What has he done?
With his rear secured, the road to Asia was open, no longer a threat from old Greece. Thus, Alexander had completed the consolidation of his power. The campaigns in the Balkans not only put down rebellions, but also honed his talents, demonstrating the great leadership and ruthlessness needed to create an empire. It was the beginning of a journey unprecedented in human history.